All right, so this is the second part of our lecture on death and the afterlife. And we're starting with these ancient faiths, okay? And by the way, we spent a lot of time on the clinical end of death and dying. Keep that stuff in the back of your mind. Keep in the back of your mind Core's 4 tasks. And what are the 4 tasks again? Patrick, remember the 4 tasks? Anyone want to help me out?
Like keeping them physically.
Physical, right?
Social.
Social? Yeah. Psychological and spiritual. There's one theory that says one of the reasons why Americans or North Americans are so scared of death is because in our culture we've grown more secular. Religion doesn't play as big of a role. Now keep that in the back of your mind, because when you look at one thing religion does well is addressing those tasks. I mean, here the physical task really isn't that stressed, because you don't have people living to 78. I mean, these types of cultures, people are living at like what, 30, 40 if you're lucky, right? I mean, your lifestyle is very, very different. You're not living as long. But certainly, religion is addressing the spiritual aspect of those big questions, meaning and transcendence. So you're going into death. You're facing the death experience, with this 1,000-year-old or 2,000-year-old tradition that your whole culture believes. And this tradition is taking care of, the social as well as even your own, psychology, looking at yourself, how you see others, etc., etc. So again, Lord of the Afterlife in the Egyptian religion is Osiris, first king of Egypt, who then is dismembered, right? And his whole body's taken apart. There's this whole interesting ordeal where his wife has to find his body and put him together. And based upon Osiris, some Egyptians, there's some theories out there that they may believe in some form of the resurrection. And when we find some mummies, sometimes they're dismembered, and they're dismembered in honor of, the Lord Osiris. But there's this other god, who for us is probably the most important, this god Anubis. There's several myths about Anubis. And Anubis, so if Osiris is the god that runs the underworld, like he is in charge, Anubis is the middleman. He does everything. Like he's the guy that's going to lead you to Osiris. So you want to be really nice to him. There's a couple of traditions, one of which is that Anubis was originally Lord of the Underworld, but then Osiris takes over. And the second is that Anubis is one of the sons of Osiris. So Anubis is the most important god of the dead for a few reasons. He protects the tomb, he's a guardian, and he does 2 important ceremonies. In terms of death and the afterlife, or in terms of, to use Charles Core's language, the social aspect of this, funerary tradition, or even of this tradition in general, there are 2 very, very important rituals. And the first is one that you would perform, or your priest would perform, the opening of the mouth ritual, and the second is the weighing of the heart. All right, so opening of the mouth. We'll talk about the funerary custom, exactly what happens. But towards the end of the funerary custom, you actually turn the body, the mummy, upwards. And the priest would come by and he would tap it with a chisel. And that would symbolize a spiritual awakening. So we'll talk about the soul for Egyptians. The Egyptians, the soul is different than what you or I might be accustomed to thinking. We're not talking about a body soul. It's very, very complicated. And they would say that when you die, you lose your ka. Like that life force leaves you. But that leaves you with your personality, your ba. It's impossible for that personality, for you, Bradley, for you, with that stuff that makes you you. It's impossible for that to leave your body unless you go through the ceremony. So if you don't have this ceremony done, I mean, just imagine the pressure. It must be for, loved ones, in this religion. If you don't have this, custom done, you could, in essence, you would, in essence, make your loved one into a restless soul, because they would lose that power and they become like a ghost. Which would mean what? What might a ghost do? Yeah, haunt you. And this is what it might look like, or it was thought to look like.
The deceased shall walk and speak, and his body shall